What inspires my writing most are the stories of people on the margins of the margins. So people, for example, like Lorraine Hansberry, who obviously had to deal with racism, but then also the struggles of being a woman in that time, and then also coming into her queerness at a time when that was illegal, and just the intersectionalities and just the many layers of struggle that she went through and fought through and eventually succeeded.
It's basically, I compiled a bunch of like photos. I explored a lot of Lorraine's archives because I wanted to just like explore like her childhood to her adulthood in a very like authentic way. And like my favorite place to start whenever I'm like drawing a book that's based on someone's life is to just go through all of their images and all of like their works too. So I watched a lot of documentaries. Well, I watched a few documentaries and explored more of her work. And like, I really wanted to sit with hearing her voice and like, um, yeah, just connecting to her as an artist and as a person in a deep way.
I would want them to talk amongst themselves about and to think about for themselves what stories they want to tell that they haven't been able to, because the way we approach this book is through Lorraine Hansberry always having this voice inside her head saying, there's something in me and I want to bring my voice out, but I just don't know how. And so I would want everyone in the book club to think about what stories are in me that I want to bring out, and also how can I maybe do that.
My hobbies or other non-book related interests kind of still tie into narrative in a lot of ways. Like I find that I love spending a lot of my time playing with ways of like merging story into my life and like weaving them into my life in different ways. So I mean, I'm an illustrator, so apart from just like drawing for books. I'm constantly just like making other forms of art, like collaging or um, I spend a lot of time doing a lot of movement-based activities like surfing and hiking um, and doing yoga, but also playing music. Like there's so many different worlds that kind of connect to how I can find inspiration in the work that I make or just in my living practice.
I love reading stories that take risks, especially with the form. So I love reading stories that mix a lot of different languages together, or that bring in folklore, or that uh, bring in elements of oral history. Stories that aren't usually the typical the fairy tale or the typical novel, but ones that really take risks, and especially ones that bring in elements of cultures that are maybe overlooked. So, for example, growing up, some of my favorite books were ones that were folklore, but on the page, and made me feel connected to my family in the Caribbean or my family like in other parts of the world, and just a heritage about that. And I think it's really lovely when books can take risks in that way.
Libraries deeply impacted my career in such a deep way. I think it's a catalyst as to why I love reading and like why I love making a narrative. I remember like growing up, the places where I felt the safest were where there were books, and libraries for me really provided that safety to just be able to like connect with different worlds and like learn about stories and like world building. Um, and it was even there like when I started drawing some of my first like short stories and like comics and stuff too. I think I remember taking like a workshop at my library on like how to make comics. So yeah, it really transformed my life in a deep way. Describe this book as a book that speaks to resiliency, that speaks to legacy, that also just speaks to just like uh, finding like empowerment within like oneself in such a deep way, I think. And to just like speak more to those three words, I think that Lorraine, in even her short life, built so much of a legacy, inspired by like her family and what she went through as a youth that really catalyzed her into being this brilliant like artist and like thinker that inspired generations. So
The three words I would choose for this book are creative, boundless, and resonating, because that's how I would describe the way that at least I try to approach Lorraine's story. She's all about creating. She's all about breaking free of the boundaries that other people are putting on her. And what makes her story and her as a person so amazing is that after all of these decades, her voice is still echoing like a gong, like a bell, and still resonating. And I think that's really lovely.